Hi again, this is Keith Stone. I'm here with Greg Nagy again to discuss this week's discussion questions. And the hour 18 discussion question, which is first, is as follows. Where do you think that Oedipus, once immortalized as a cult hero, has his permanent residence? Is it enough to answer with the gods?
We've had some interesting responses. Do you want to try out, let's say, David's response?
Mm-hmm. David, maybe this is Hauser? He says, perhaps the answer would be that it is not so important where Oedipus is, but how people can make contact with him,
Yeah.
which would involve the rituals of his sacred space. Thus, in Oedipus at Colonus, there is a great deal of attention to the sacred space of Colonus, and very little on the exact details of Oedipus's death and what happened to him after that death.
I really like that. What David has done is emphasize the fact that the cult hero is most approachable by way of the place where his or her body is anchored in the local Mother Earth. So even if Sophocles leaves the door open for Oedipus himself in a state of immortalization to be up there and not necessarily down there, the contact still has to happen with ground level Mother Earth and what happens underneath Mother Earth, which is where the body is. And never mind the details. That is the big takeaway, and I think David has nailed it.
As long as Oedipus is there somewhere, by metonymy,
That's enough.
you can make contact with him somehow.
And you might remember when we were thinking of the 5 generations of humankind, that in that schematic way of looking at death and immortalization after death, it's pretty clear that where the heroes are immortalized is not specifically imagined. It always has to be beyond our world, our time, our space. In the works and days, the Hesiotic works and days, it happens to be the islands of the blessed. But there's so many other variations on the theme. And as I try to say in my write-ups for the ancient Greek hero in 24 hours, you can imagine the hero sniffing flowers somewhere in a space and time you cannot even locate, while at the same time you worship that hero in your native space, specifically in the site where the hero is worshipped, and you think of his or her body as being underneath the earth.
Mm-hmm. So with Achilles, his Sema, as we know, is
Yes.
it's over in Troy still, but the Athenians have the chariot race that they do
Yes.
in Athens.
And that's
Was
perfect.
was there a second tomb of Achilles in Athens, or
No,
he's just
in
able
that
to-
case, you don't even need it because Athenians think they own Troy.
Oh,
And
wow.
that worked in the 5th century. It doesn't work after that, but we're left with the traces of a mindset back in the classical period where they really thought they owned that space, and so they thought they owned the tomb of Achilles, or let's say it better, the tumulus of Achilles, which was probably coated in stucco, so it really was shining from afar. And you could always make mental contact with that while at the same time witnessing all of these rituals, which correspond to the funeral games of Patroclus, except, hello, they're happening right here in Athens. And you're right, the mental contact of the worshiper with the hero can take you anywhere as long as there is a visualization of a tomb somewhere. You don't have to be right next to the tomb in order to be able to worship it. And you don't have to have physical contact. Mental contact is enough.
Right. So now we have a question on Aeneas from Ila Papanastasiou. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. The kernel of the question is, which is accompanied by a lovely image as well. The kernel of the question is, do we know this story from the Aeneid, or is there a reference somewhere in the Greek text as well?
Well, there are so many references to the Aeneas tradition, even in the Iliad. The part where Aeneas is carrying his disabled father on his shoulder, that part we do not have in the Iliad per se, but there are so many other references to it in other pieces of classical Greek literature and in paintings that depict the destruction of Troy. Our team, you, Claudia, and myself, were just looking at a base painting the other day where the figure of the father of Aeneas, Anchises, is so prominent that when you first look at the painting, it looks as if it's Anchises with the legs of Aeneas, but it's really Anchises being carried by Aeneas, and oh yeah, there's the head of Aeneas somewhere as he's struggling to carry the old man on his shoulder. The thing about Aeneas, and I love this this question from our questioner, Papanastasiou, is that Aeneas is such hot property, poetically speaking, that every Greek community wants a piece of him. Why? It's because in the Homeric hymn to Aphrodite, which is not obligatory reading for us in our project, but which is worth looking at, in that hymn, it's made very clear that Aeneas, by virtue of being the son of Anchises and Aphrodite, is somebody who has dynastic genes that will last forever. Notice I didn't just say genes, I said dynastic genes. And that's because the goddess Aphrodite is not only presiding over sex, but regeneration, and regeneration, which would mean a new son in a male line of kings going from one generation to the next, is guaranteed eternity. So the symbolism of an eternal dynasty is built in, and eventually it's Rome, the eternal city, by hindsight, that gets away with sole ownership of Aeneas. But the farther back you go, there were dozens, even hundreds of communities that claimed Aeneas as our founder because Aeneas's genes, his sperm bank, however you want to say it, will last forever. Why? Because the goddess of regeneration herself is his mother. So great question. And then the question is, a follow-up question, why is Anchises lame? It's because if you have sex with a goddess like that, it takes a lot out of you, and he's lame.
Okay, we have another question here, posted by Safdar M. And the gist of the question is, can cult hero worship be a form of personal prayer for each worshiper? It's a two-part question. The second part then is, do worshippers seek the intercession of the cult hero with some other god?
And the answer to the first question is really easy. Yes, a prayer to a cult hero by the worshipper of the cult hero in hero cult can be deeply personal. It can involve something that troubles you personally and something for which you want a remedy from that hero. Now, the second part of the question, or the second question, they're really two separate questions, is there intercession? I think that is a Christian concept more than a pre-Christian concept. It's because in Christian theology, it's God who is all-powerful, and the saints don't have any power of and by themselves. They derive their power to help those who pray to them by the fact that the saint to whom you're praying is interceding, is the go-between between the worshiper and God. You only worship God, you don't worship. Did I say hero? I meant the saint. Sure, the act of praying to saints is derived from the act of praying to heroes, and that's especially clear in Eastern Christian traditions. That's a given, but in terms of praying to heroes and worshiping heroes even, you don't have to worry about how some God who is presiding over that hero should also be prayed to, or should be the primary, as the French would say, destinataire. No, you just pray to the hero, and the hero has his or her own power to help you in your personal need. It doesn't mean that this prayer has to leapfrog to Zeus or to some other Olympian god. It's enough to pray to the hero, and the hero has his or her efficacy working for the worshiper when the worship addresses the hero directly. So no worries about intermediacy in the pre-Christian system of hero cult, as distinct from the Christian system of praying to saints.
Beautiful. All right, rock on. I love how when you were saying, the stucco, the tumulus is stucco, so it's really your eyes get wide. Like you're really seeing it. It's awesome.
I see it, yes, I really do see it. I really do see it, and what's funny is that when I went to Troy, it's all misty. There have been all these centuries of malaria. And the white stucco has worn off, so somewhere in the distance there are little protrusions from the earth. But imagine how exciting it would have been to see a white shining mass emerging from the earth and overlooking the Hellespont.
Wow, that would have been amazing.
It took me a long time to figure that out. Are we recording that? No.
Yeah, that's all.
Oh, we are.
Sure. Want that in? Want that in?
Yeah, I want that in.
Yeah, it's all in.
It's because it's true.
Yeah.